Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. We are going to be chatting about streamlining MSP operations using MSPbots dashboards. And we are so very lucky today to be joined by Gary Harlam of Technology Advisory Group, who we will introduce here in a little more detail in just a moment. But to give you just an idea of the topics that we're going to talk through today, we of course want to introduce ourselves so you know who you're hanging out with for this morning. But then we'll jump into really how dashboards and MSP bots in general has helped Gary streamline operations in his MSP. And we're going to talk about a few different areas of the business that we're using those dashboards for, things like project management, financial management, even your customer relationships. So we're really excited to dive into that. We'll wrap it up with some key takeaways so that we're all on the same page when we walk away today. And of course, if there are any questions, we certainly would like to address those. So you'll notice you do have a chat area that you can use. So please feel free to go ahead and chat with us in there, ask your questions, and we'll certainly address those live. Or if we can't get to an answer right away, absolutely we'll follow up with you. So let us know how we can help.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you all so much for being here today, whether you're watching this live or on YouTube or on LinkedIn or what have you. Do want to kind of introduce the team here in just a second, but we kind of want to talk a little bit today about how this episode is going to be different from our first episode, which is kind of a state of the union, if you will. We had some new hire information, some company updates, some product updates. This one's going to look and feel a little bit different because we are going to be essentially focused on one of our longtime clients who's also a wonderful member of the MSPbots family. So today, our focus is going to be a little bit more on the business intelligence side of the house, and also going to be directly focused on the ConnectWise integration as well. Some episodes in the near future, some of our monthly episodes may have a little bit of a different look and feel, but this one is going to be our first ever of our client-facing or client-focused educational monthly webinars. With me as always is of course our product marketing manager for all things MSPbots, the wonderful Jen 6. I'm of course Marcus McNally, director of account management, and with us is Gary Harlam, who's the owner of the Technology Advisory Group. He was actually one of the very first people I met when I came on board here at MSPbots, and we're thrilled to have him with us today to kind of share his experience and discuss with all of us a little bit about what he's done with the MSPbots platform, which has helped him create efficiencies and help him and his organization become better overall. What do we got next, Jen?
Excellent. Well, let's introduce Gary and his use of MSPbots. So Gary, if you don't mind, if there's anything you want to say about yourself, and then share with us in the audience a little bit about what brought you to MSPbots and kind of what that process looked like and now where you stand.
Oh, I can do that. Marcus, Jen, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. As mentioned, I'm Gary Harlam from Technology Advisory Group. We're a Rhode Island-based MSP that started in 1996. We service Rhode Island, Southeast Mass, and a little bit into Connecticut. As an active member of the True Methods peer group for well over 10 years, we've been taught methodologies that require us to have a high level of attention to our operational efficiencies. As a result, we look for tools that help us to gain any advantage that we can, and MSPbots has been doing just that for us. Over the years, I've developed lots of tracking tools and spreadsheets, but they all had to be updated manually. So as much as possible, I'm looking for ways that we can use automation to replace those manual procedures. Today, we're going to talk about some of those. So a couple of months ago, we upgraded from the basic dashboard plan with MSPbots to the Pro plan. And by doing so, we can now leverage their development team to help us implement that automation. So we're going to try to show you some screenshots today of some of the dashboards that we're working on and talk about the value that they're bringing to our team. Please keep in mind that some of them are still in development and aren't fully polished. So the first one that you're looking at is one of our really basic service dashboards. Quite honestly, we've used several dashboarding tools over the years. Any of the products can do this because this is just taking some simple metrics, putting them in a dashboard, alerting us when things are out of alignment. And this is really not the value of MSPbots, but it does this very well. So this is where we started, and that was great. One of the nice things here, we do have multiple versions of this dashboard. So we have another version, which is for individual technicians where they see only their metrics. Then if we go to the next section, we could talk about some of our financial areas.
Awesome.
So as we know, when we're running a business, it's really important not to waste money. Over the years, I'm sure like you, we've bought products and not fully, or either forgotten to build them or not properly build them. So one of the things that we've really had a mindset over the last year or two is to find ways to audit the things that we're buying to make sure that we're billing our clients properly. So what we do is we look for ways to compare the usage from those vendor portals and compare them to the entries in our billing agreements to make sure that we're not missing things. So right now, some of what we're building out and what you're seeing on the screen is one for SentinelOne, where we're comparing the data from the SentinelOne portal to the entries that are in ConnectWise. And we happen to use ConnectWise for our PSA and our billing. Wherever possible, we're going to use the native MSPbots integrations. We'll talk a little bit later. There are 70 of them currently. We use a couple, but the good news is for those products that aren't yet integrated, they offer that OneDrive capability that we'll talk about. So the value here, we had a problem in Pax8 where we buy our Office 365 licenses, where we had skipped a couple of their entries in the reconciliation screens, thinking we were skipping it for the month. It turns out that they were turn off notifications forever. So a couple of months ago, when we first started developing some of these reports, we found almost by mistake some products that had changed over 6 months ago, and we missed out on a lot of that billing. So by being really careful and developing these dashboards, you find a cross-check, because even though we use the Pax8 portal to update ConnectWise in this case, we're using the MSPbots dashboards to cross-check that work to make sure we haven't missed anything. So I don't have a screenshot of it, but another project along these lines is what we call our product cross-reference checker. I haven't come up with a good name for it, but we're working on it. But really what's really important as an MSP, because our clients rely on us to make sure that when we sell them a product, that it gets deployed everywhere. We've found instances when we audit machines in an environment that sometimes one agent is missed on one computer, a different agent on another. So we have developed a manual process in Excel where I pull in that agent information into spreadsheets, and I found a way to compare them. So we are working with the development team at MSPbots to automate that process. Again, many of the products that we use are already automated, integrated, and those that aren't, we will provide those exports from the portals. Now, in order to make that process work, because each of these 10 or 15 products, one of the other problems that we have is when they're set up, when we set up a client in each of the portals, sometimes the names are slightly different. Some portals have different naming restrictions. In an ideal world, we would take the name that's in Manage and use that in every portal. that's just not practical in some instances. So MSPbots has developed or is developing a process where they're building a cross-reference table where we can take and map each product for each client back to the name in our PSA, so that in all of our data sets, the client names will always be the same. So this is that product is still in their lab, but it's been very helpful for us to bridge the gap between these products.
Yeah, I think everything that you've mentioned so far is so amazing when you think about all of the things that MSPs have to manage and bringing it into a centralized place. I'm curious, knowing the story about finding 6 months worth of billing that you missed, how much, and having the automation, like how much time do you think you've saved in that reconciliation process by having all of this data centralized?
Good question.
Well, so it's an interesting question because we have, over the years, I've used kind of like the export method in spreadsheets to compare this information, and different products are easier to update than others. Some are easier to update than others. I've talked to the team about the long-term goal of being able to identify these discrepancies and hopefully, with, I'll say, the push of a button, pushing that data back to manage to make it even more streamlined. I can tell you that every month when I do the billing, I usually spend about a day towards the end of the month doing these reconciliations, and I don't have enough time to do every product every month. So part of the goal here is to streamline it even more. Hey, my goal really is to hand this off to somebody else on my team because it's going to be much more straightforward.
Makes perfect sense. I love that. I think I cut you off a little bit too, so I'm sorry about that.
No.
If there was anything else.
Nope. Actually, we were ready to move on to the to the next slide. So when we talk about managing finances, one of the things that's really important is our revenue. With our business model as an MSP where we're working off of monthly contracts, one supplement to that is hourly billing, or what we refer to as our non-recurring revenue. And that could be some people, not everybody is on the unlimited plan. And also our projects are all billed either fixed fee or hourly, but for all intents and purposes is hourly billing. And we need to make sure that we are being as efficient as possible, because the difference in that non-recurring revenue can make the difference between a lackluster month and a very profitable one for us, because that's really, all those resources are paid for, so this is gravy for us. So we've developed a series of products to really hone in on that data and make our team aware of what's going on. So the chart that you're looking at right now is one that we review every week at our professional services meeting, where we look at his utilization every week. And you can't really see the numbers, but trust me that they're there. When we look at that utilization percentage, our goal is 75% every week. We know there are times where we have to pull him away from billable work to work on a warranty, some warranty work or some follow-up work where he might not be generating revenue, but we talk about it every week to make sure that we're not getting distracted. So the graph on the left is the weekly summary, and the one on the right, we can drill down by the day to really figure out what happened last week. And he's not penalized for PTO and the days that he's not working. This is about how many hours during those, how many of the hours of his available time are billable and generating revenue. So we have access to the data, he has access to the data, so he's more aware and cognizant about when things change, being aggressive at backfilling with other billable work and not just saying, yeah, I'll just look at the backup board and help out somebody else. So it's really helped to change the focus of attention. Now, one of the things that we recognize is the engineer can only do the work that he's assigned. So one of the other things that we look at is, what does the funnel look like? So Jen, if you can go to the next slide, please. So we actually have two different views. What you're looking here is the top graph is a future-looking perspective of the work that's coming up and waiting to be done. Both of these are, again, still midway through development, but the top graph is going to show you by month what things are scheduled, and that data, the little blue bars are the things that are on the project board. But the problem is that some projects are slated or are in discussions. We want to look further down the road. So what we're adding now are the opportunities that we're discussing with our clients. And if we were fully diligent and up to date with that data, we would see that each of those opportunities that should be in our system would then appear in the months for which we estimate the work is going to happen. So we're always looking forward to see and make sure that we've got a full funnel. And as we see months that are coming up, we might look for things to backfill some of that time. So for example, we are working right now on trying to get an early start on our Windows 10 to 11 machine replacements. So we're trying to figure out, prepare a list of those machines that should be replaced, go to our clients to start preparing work for Q4, Q1, Q2 of next year. So we've got that graph looking forward, and the bottom one is looking backwards. We're always looking back to make sure that the numbers and our billable revenue match the work that we think we did. So we've had instances where, how come we only generated $5,000 of revenue last month when you were working at 80% utilization? So looking backwards a month at a time and looking at the sources of our billable hourly revenue, we can try to correlate the 1 month to the actual revenue. And in theory, if our numbers were 100% accurate, and they're getting closer, the numbers, if I added up each column, should actually match the numbers in QuickBooks. And we're getting much closer. So it's been very helpful for us to have that retrospective view.
Yeah. I love that you're able to take what you're seeing in the past to make informed decisions on what you're going to do in the future. And I think when we chatted, about having this webinar, that was something we talked about, was the garbage in, garbage out, getting your data correct is what's really going to make all of this so valuable, so that you can forecast appropriately and ensure that that non-recurring revenue is there to supplement, like you talked about earlier. So
100%. Hey, listen, our billable time is wasted if we don't bill it. So although, the good news is there's not much of it, but if you look really, really closely on that right-hand bar at the very top is the red sliver, which is the unbilled time. But so if we go to the next screen, or the next slide, so this is actually a view that we've had for years. And the good news is that there's not a lot of data in here, because this is our unbilled work, our WIP. And the middle bar is the project revenue, or the project time entries or tickets, and the right one are regular hourly billable tickets. So what happens is during the month, our project engineer works on the projects, accrues time, and it is our policy to progress bill as much as we can at the end of the month. Yeah, sometimes we start a project the last week of the month. We're not really going to send out a bill for 2 or 3 hours. So we do carry over some, but we always want to progress bill. So this screenshot was taken 2 weeks ago, literally after we'd just gone through all of our billing. So it's moderately empty. But this is really powerful for our VCIO And so he can see with a bird's eye view of what needs to be done and what's still outstanding. But when we sit down and have a review with the VCIOs, it gives us a perspective of, are they falling behind, or are they keeping up with their billing responsibilities?
Love that. Can't manage what you can't see.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, that's about it on this one on the finance side.
Awesome.
So the next area that we've gone into is it's actually an easy one. It's customer reporting. ConnectWise and many of the other products have some customer-facing reports. None of them are great. So what we've started to do, and again, we're in the process of developing this and trying to figure out what we want to show our customers, but because MSPbots has exposure to many of our different platforms, we have the easy ability to aggregate data from many of our products, ticket metrics out of ConnectWise Manage, and our SLA performance. We can take our monitoring and maintenance alerts and the number of alerts that we're getting, the patch status of our computers, status information from security products like SentinelOne or Webroot. We can pull information from our backup products. And we can then show our customers some meaningful data without giving them all the boring detail. What we're seeing here are a couple of excerpts from them, from some of the different areas of the reports. And I don't know that we'll ever be finished with this report, but the initial feedback that we're getting from some of our customers, even though we just started, is they really like the simple presentation. And again, that's what we're able to do with this platform.
So Gary, real quick, I do appreciate one of the things you landed on there was one of our biggest separators is the customization that we can do on the dashboard or the business intelligence side of the house. When you say that you are delivering these reports or doing client reporting, is this something that you're setting up in the client report or in the client portal? Or are we delivering these to them on the 5th and the 20th, on the 1st of the month? If you could talk about that process a little bit.
Yeah, so we're not there yet. For the moment, we're only using this as deliverables during our QBRs.
Got it.
So the VCIO is traditionally the VCIO has gone and spent time generating a bird's eye view of the account. So the goal here is to do this work and have it ready for the VCIO at any point. You can see in the little boxes at the top, we've got a filter by customer and date range. So depending on the cadence of those meetings, we can choose the customer, we can choose the range. At some point, we might automatically send these to our customers, but we've, for the moment at least, decided that we'd rather have it as a discussion point to talk to them in person and point out the work that we're doing, good, bad, or indifferent. Obviously, sometimes the numbers are not in our favor because not everything goes well.
Totally fair. And it feels like it's something as the MSP community we've been talking about forever, but really just having the ability to show that value, and because a lot of the work you're doing is behind the scenes, so it can be hard to build that relationship when the customer may not necessarily know everything you're doing. So by pulling all of that data together from all those different solutions, there's really that holistic picture that someone can look at and say, oh, wow, I was very impressed. Even if the numbers maybe aren't exactly what you're looking for, there's still so much value to show everything that you're doing and all the ways you're protecting and enabling their business to grow.
Well, but that's the double-edged sword with the MSP model of the all-you-can-eat. Because they're paying that flat monthly fee, every month we have to go out and remind them of our value so they don't take it for granted. Mm-hmm. So we look for these simple tools to do that. Years ago when we switched to this model, we made the conscious decision to send out the $0 invoices. here's the work that you would have been billed for. The problem is most of them go to the bookkeeper, and the managers and the owners don't see them anyway. So this is the opportunity to gently remind them of all the things that are going on behind the scenes.
I love that.
And gently's a good way to do that. Love it.
Yeah. So that's it on the reporting side. It's pretty simple. The presentation is pretty simple, but figuring out looking at each data source and figuring out how to best portray that product or data, that's the hard part. And, again, we'll never stop looking at it, but these are, a half of the report that, we've currently put together. So more to come.
Love it.
All right. So the next thing, which we alluded to, is some of the flexibility that MSPbots is building into the platform. As we mentioned, on the next screen, you'll see many of the integrations that are directly supported by MSPbots. Some of each of the integrations has a different set of data and can be used, whatever you want. For us, we're looking at things like our usage, numbers of tickets, things of that nature. So we're using a moderate number of these, but we don't use many of these products. But I do like, one of the ones right in the middle, QuickBooks. So because there's a direct integration with QuickBooks, we have the ability to tie in some of our financial reporting right into some of our dashboards. So one of the things that I alluded to before with the retrospective income view, part of my expectation is to enhance that to show not only what ConnectWise thinks we build, but to compare that to the actual entries in QuickBooks to make sure that we're not missing something. Now, part of the problem is, this list, many of us use vendors that are not on this list, and that's great. The good news is MSPbots has developed their OneDrive integration, which allows us to go out and take an export file from any platform, upload it to a OneDrive location, and the MSPbots platform will do an import, create a data set from that import. And once you have that data set, we can use it in any of the reports, create widgets and dashboards. And of course, the most important thing is being able to get that data updated. So anytime I want to take, in this case, you can see that we've created two of these data sets. One is from PAX8 before their integration is done. I don't remember the other one. I don't remember what the other one is offhand, but that's okay. But the important thing is, it's for our backup product. So right. The important thing is we have the ability now to refresh that file and thereby updating the data set with it. I'll tell you that there are two small temporary gotchas that have been identified. One we would expect, which is once you set up the mapping from your text file into the data set, your columns have to stay in the same order and you have to have the exact same layout or the system won't know what to do with the data. The good news is if something has to change, the support can help to remap that data so that your dashboards and everything continue to work. But the second is a limitation of the system that's in development. When the developers linked the files in OneDrive to their portal, instead of looking for the file name, they're looking at some magic file ID in the background. And you can't just copy a new version of the file and rename it in OneDrive. Temporarily, while they figure out a long-term solution, the simple fix is open up the file in OneDrive, delete the old data, and copy in an updated export from your portal, save it, and you're done. It's not it's an extra 2 minutes of work. It's not the end of the world. We do expect that that's going to be fixed sometime in the near future. But having this flexibility has saved us not just time in reporting, but given us the flexibility to literally bring in any platform that may never be supported by MSPbots, because it's something that we might use that a lot of other people don't. So that's been really helpful.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's good
we love the centralization. Totally. Well, I don't know if you had any parting thoughts, Gary, before I jump into our request for other amazing clients to show off their work.
Nope. The only thing what I can say at this point is, we've been working with the development team on some of these projects for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. The development team has been phenomenal about taking feedback and making changes, on making sure that they understand the intention. They'll make a change, we'll audit the results and make sure that it meets our expectations. And, we go back and forth. We've had many phone calls with the responsible engineers when there's confusing things or options or things that they need to understand. We've done that many times. And I won't always tell you everything's been easy, because some of these are complex problems, and they're finding creative ways to solve those problems.
We love to hear that.
Awesome, Gary.
An amazing shout out for our dev team. So thank you so much. And if you're watching and you're thinking about, wow, I've done some really cool stuff too with MSPbots, I would love to be a part of a webinar series with us. We would love to feature you. So if there is something you would love to share with the community, please let us know. You can email marketing@mspbots.ai, and I will be happy to connect with you and make sure that we get you the opportunity to highlight what you've been working on.
Absolutely. So again, kind of touched on a little bit earlier as far as the structure of how we're going to do these episodes, but we'd love to hear from you. So please do not hesitate to reach out to our team. And then of course you can always hit up Jen at marketing @. Jen is, wonderful to work with, but absolutely knows her stuff as far as, what we're trying to accomplish here at MSPbots. And again, working with our clients and putting our best foot forward to make sure that, hey, we're informative and we're looking out for everyone in the ecosystem. Key takeaways for today. Simply put, Gary, I want to take a little bit of a quick pause to thank you very, very much for your time and willingness to work with us. So again, I cannot thank you enough. We appreciate it on a very high level. But key takeaways, goes without saying that data organization is critical to success, throughout the business. So whether it's on the reporting side, the financial side, operation side of the house, doesn't matter. Data is a very key part of what we do and, how we do our presentation with our clients. Integrated dashboards can surface data across systems easily to validate billing accuracy and so much more. Again, Gary did a fabulous job of highlighting that, but that is, a lot of what we do here, of course, and we do have a variety of different templated dashboards that help in the, again, on the billing side of the house. And again, Rick, our director of professional services, and his team are building out a lot of billing reconciliation options as well that we'll hopefully be able to discuss with all of you here in the near future. Next up, MSPbots centralizes your business data into a single place with over 70 integrations. It's close to 80 now. And the flexibility with OneDrive cannot be understated. I am very glad that we got to discuss that out in the open here today. The future will be driven by data and how it's used. Simply surfacing your data isn't enough. Being able to action on it and use it to drive automation is the real benefit. So that would be an area where, again, it's going to be something that I would hope to talk with all of you in the near future about, what we can do with your data. And then from an alerting or, being able to wrap around or tie a bot alerts or bot notification around what we're doing with our data. So, dashboards are wonderful. What are we doing about it? What are we doing? What is our data telling us to do? So what do those next steps need to become? That I feel like is probably one of the bigger key takeaways of today, but certainly something that we discuss a lot with our clients on basically every call I have.
Yeah. So one thing along those lines that that clearly isn't, we don't have time today, but for those that are looking to dig deeper into their data, the whole apps section too, which are focused categorically, I'm sure you guys will be doing several sessions on those because there's so much depth in those, whether you're digging into QuickBooks or ticketing metrics, some of them geared towards many of the peer groups specifically and their nomenclature. There's a lot more available in there also.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we're really excited about that's coming up is some best practices built into MSPbots coming a little bit later this month in September. So for your different PSAs, you'll start to see some really popular, used across the community reports and dashboards that you can clone and use in your own business. So definitely stay tuned for that. We're super excited about that coming so shortly. And I did want to mention as well that I'll put a link in the chat for our existing MSPbots clients. We do have our feature request link live where you can go and submit what you're looking for out of the platform, whether that's features or new integrations. And our team is using that to drive what we're doing moving forward. So if there is anything that you would love to see, definitely let us know. The team is very receptive and open to that feedback. So outside of that, though, we'd love for you to stay connected with us. We're on the socials, as you see, so absolutely check us out there. And shout out if you're watching on LinkedIn already, maybe you're already connected, so thank you. But also make sure that we've got a help center out there with lots of documentation and articles at support.mspbots.ai. And if you do ever need help with the solution, certainly contact our support team at support@mspbots.ai.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sorry, Jen, please continue. My apologies.
No, I was going to say that was all the content that I have, but I need to turn it over to you, Marcus, because I know there's something.
Correct. Thank you, Jen. So two things to touch on. One of the biggest things that I run into is, whether it's different tech events or just different events that we go to pretty consistently here at MSPbots, is how wonderful our support team is. And I think I've kind of like ran into just a thought, if you will, about how for some reason, especially in tech, there's always going to be a little bit of hesitation to reach out to support. Well, why can't I figure this out by myself? And I certainly understand that. But one of the things that I've heard over the last, I would say 6 months, is just how awesome our support team is, how responsive they are, how knowledgeable they are, and how quick to respond and just do an overall fabulous job. So quick shout out to our support team. Because again, putting the pieces together so that way you can turn around quickly and get the data you need, get the updates or the quick fix that you need is wonderful. Lastly, I do want to make sure we get to touch on our episode's horrible joke of the month or dad joke of the month. So just kind of want to throw this out there as a gift to all of you. I was hanging out with a buddy a couple weeks ago, and we were doing a little bit of yard work, landscaping at his house. So we went back into his little shed and, pointed at I pointed at the ladder that we were going to go ahead and begin utilizing or whatever. And I said, and he goes, yeah, hey, go ahead and grab that. That's my step ladder. And I said, okay. And he turns to me and says, yeah, I never knew my real ladder. That's it. That's the end of the joke. If you guys want to go ahead and use that in your day-to-day, feel free. That is my gift to you.
We are all so very appreciative, Marcus, and we are so appreciative to you, Gary, again, for joining us and sharing your MSPbots experience. And of course, grateful to all of you who joined us today. Definitely let us know if there's anything we can help you with. And again, thank you so much, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks,
Take care,
guys.
everyone. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.